Good morning and welcome back to Just the News AM. I'm Carrie Sheffield. We're giving you all the coverage of the challenges around the 2020 election and the Trump campaign's efforts on this. I want to bring in Tom Fitton. He's president of Judicial Watch. He's also author of A Republic Under Assault. And it's subtitled The Left's Ongoing Attack on American Freedom. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Tom, I want to let our viewers know about a study that you all did looking at what you guys called ghost voters. And what you found, we'll put the tweet up, you found a study that you all did shows that 1.8 million excess or ghost voters in 353 counties across 29 states. The data highlights the recklessness of mailing blindly ballots or ballot applications to voter registration lists. This is a huge number. First of all, walk us through how this happened and could this have made the difference? Are these people who are basically not existing or they're not allowed to vote?
You have a voter registration list, right? And it has 100 people. And in many counties, you have voter registration lists that have, you've got a voter registration list with 105 people. But essentially, the records show, according to the census, you got 100 people living there and eligible to vote. So we've got hundreds of counties in just 29 states, and we weren't able to get all the data across all the states where you got more people on the rolls than are living there and eligible to vote. So those extra names are usually people who have moved away or died, meaning they're either living in another state or they're otherwise ineligible because they live in this world anymore. So when you've got states with extra names on the rolls, that's an indication the rolls are dirty, obviously, and you really shouldn't rely on them, in my view, to be targeting mail-in ballots with and just casually pretending that accepting ballots essentially from this list that's been not cleaned is good practice.
So, and do we have a sense of how many of those 1.8 million people ended up voting?
Oh, not yet. I mean, that's the sort of, maybe the Justice Department can investigate that. You know, we've got allegations in Nevada, for instance, in Clark County, Clark County, we know there are 154,000 extra names on the rolls in Clark County, Nevada alone, and that's Las Vegas. There's a lawsuit that suggests that there were 15,000 out-of-state voters in that in Nevada alone. In Michigan, we looked at more recent data, 654,000 extra names on the rolls in Michigan. Georgia's a mess. Pennsylvania, we have a lawsuit to clean up the rolls. Our lawsuit alleges over 800 extra thousand names on the rolls there. So this is an issue that potentially impacts the election in the sense that you've got dirty election rolls and they're being mailed ballots and ballot applications, and it's just a horrible way to maintain election integrity. To use these lists the way they've been used to mail-in balloting.
And you just mentioned the Department of Justice. The Attorney General, William Barr, has said, he told the Associated Press, according to their report, that there was no evidence of substantial fraud enough to change the election. But you haven't seen the DOJ investigating what you're talking about here. You've identified 1.8 million people potentially who could have voted that should not have been voting. So have you been in touch with the DOJ? Has Judicial Watch?
Well, just to be clear, I'm not sure that they could have voted. I'm not sure if they did vote.
Potentially the potential of 1.8 million.
The Justice Department's been AWOL on this issue. They've known about dirty voting lists across the country for years. This Justice Department hasn't lifted their fingers, virtually done nothing to help us clean up the rolls. I don't know who Attorney General Barr is listening to over at the Justice Department. Our experience is those responsible for investigating these sorts of issues are left-wing Democrat partisans who have zero interest in enforcing the rule of law on election integrity and voter fraud. So Attorney General Barr is probably getting bad information, and that's the most charitable interpretation, I suppose. But it's the most likely one. The deep state is never going to admit there's a problem here.
I want to turn to another topic from your organization. So Judicial Watch looked at, you dug and you got some information about the Obama Department of Homeland Security reportedly scanning the Georgia election site illegally. And you have the governor, Brian Kemp, accusing of an unsuccessful attempt to penetrate the Georgia Secretary of State's firewall. This is really remarkable that you have this allegation. What more should our viewers know about this, and will there be any accountability?
Well, this was the DHS under Barack Obama in 2016. That back then, I think Governor Kemp was Secretary of State Kemp, and he went after the Justice Department after, I guess, his own security measures figured out that DHS was improperly, it looks like improperly scanning their material or doing something that generated a security warning. And we have the document showing, yes, he had a right to be concerned because they were doing something that was highly unusual, according to the records we were able to uncover from the Department of Homeland Security directly. And not only that, but it looks like some of the logs and documents that could tell us what was going on were overwritten. So there's some additional questions I think deserve frankly deserve further investigation. Now, of course, the IG pretended nothing was improper here, but I suggest your viewers look at the documents themselves at judicialwatch.org and ask why it is the Obama DHS, under the guise of trying to protect our elections, were snooping around election sites of the states without their knowledge or forewarning.
Well, we hope our viewers do check this out. Tom, what do you think is not being told just overall with this story of the 2020 election and these allegations of voter fraud?
I think the elections in these battleground states, the use of mail-in balloting undermined fundamentally the election integrity. And we have the change in state rules and state laws, often unconstitutionally done, and that further undermine election security. And so in these battleground states where these rules were changed in a way that makes it almost impossible to know whether ballots were appropriately counted one way or the other or not, the state legislatures need to step in. You don't need to prove that computer systems were manipulated. It's really much more simple. They had rules, they changed them, and the changes were in violation of law. So therefore, many, many votes need to be discounted and ruled ineligible because of this misconduct. And this is what I think the president is hanging his hat on, and I think he's right to raise the issues.
All right, Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.